I want to thank all the witnesses for being here today once again, and we will now lead on to the question and answer session. There are serious concerns over the link between radical 501c3 organizations that actively cause violence and unrest across the country and the Chinese Communist Party. Most notably being the over $20 million that the People's Forum received from Mr. Neville Roy Singham. The CCP is taking advantage of our tax-exempt sector to poison our dialogue and cause division in our political system. That should alarm every single person, whether you're a Republican or whether you're a Democrat. If you are an American, you should be extremely concerned with what's going on at the expense of our tax-exempt status. Mr. Walter, the CCP's involvement in our tax-exempt sector is one of many ways that China has sought to harm America's national interest. Can you please walk through Mr. Singham's web, the big web of nonprofits, and explain how the CCP is using our tax-exempt sector to push CCP propaganda?
Thank you for the question, Mr. Chairman. I have to say that some of this is speculative because so little is known for certain, and like a good Maoist, Mr. Singham works hard to hide what he's doing, and our nonprofit sector makes that easy. But there's been some very good reporting, especially from the New York Times on this, which uses the number hundreds of millions of dollars Mr. Singham has spent to try to influence politics in America and other countries as well, through a vast number of groups. All those groups do different things, but one thing they do is exactly what you say. They all push communist China propaganda. As the New York Times is perfectly clear, none of them are registered under FARA, as the Times also points out. They do all kinds of things like the People's Forum, as you said. It both trains and organizes for protests on multiple issues all over America. Other groups operate YouTube channels to reach youth. Others operate fake news websites. Still more, lobby Congress, operate the Tricontinental Institute, a Marxist think tank, support candidates for office in multiple countries. And in all cases, by the way, they don't just boost the communist government of China, they also support other hostile regimes. For instance, the No Dut Doll group connected to Singham propagandizes for the gruesome dictatorship of North Korea. Singham's wife, Jody Evans, helps operate Code Pink, and of course their protests famously include disrupting hearings in Congress, which shows their contempt for America and their contempt for the rule of law. So I think this is clearly something that needs additional investigation from multiple parts of the executive branch, and I applaud your investigating it here.
This committee, on a bipartisan basis, approved multiple bills to address the attempt by multiple foreigners to influence our politics and election outcomes by funneling money through tax-exempt organizations. But when those same bills came to the House floor, our Democrat colleagues ended up opposing them. They sided with special interest in foreign billionaires and abandoned this bipartisan cause. Similarly, today's minority witness shows that the Democrats would rather focus their time on opposing Donald Trump than working with us on this important issue. It seems opposing the president is the only thing that unites my colleagues on the other side of the aisle. Maybe my colleagues across the aisle want to talk about President Trump because they don't want to talk about the individuals funding these groups. We know of two notable examples, a Swiss billionaire and a British billionaire who have attempted to funnel hundreds of millions of dollars into left-wing tax-exempt organizations operating right here in the U.S. for the purpose of influencing our elections, which is illegal. Absolutely illegal. Ms. Sutherland, how common is this type of foreign influence and foreign funding in our politics, and what sort of action should we or the IRS be looking at to combat it?
Chairman Smith, thank you very much for that question. It's unfortunately all too common that foreign billionaires and foreign charities seem to have their thumb on the scale of American politics. Yes, we know that Hans-Jörg Wyss has funneled hundreds of millions of dollars, as has Christopher Hohn, and a smattering of foreign charities. Together, that identifies $2.7 billion of foreign money running through the nonprofit sector. That is a shocking amount to both the right and the left. And you notice that while these bills passed on a bipartisan basis but failed on the floor, perhaps it is because the top 501c4 on the left, the 1630 Fund, has received $280 million from Hans-Jörg Wyss, whereas the top 501c4s on the right, One Nation and American Action Network, have an internal prohibition on accepting money from foreign nationals. This is something that we must address, and I applaud your committee for taking action. The IRS and this committee must find a way that foreign nationals are prohibited once and for all from funding policy campaigns and issue advocacy campaigns right here in America.
Every Republican member of this committee recently called on the IRS to crack down on certain tax-exempt organizations because our investigations have exposed a pattern of abuse, deception, and blatant disregard for the law. In fact, to date, we have found cause to refer 11 different organizations to the IRS for potential revocation of their tax-exempt status. Mr. Dubinsky, as a forensic accountant who investigates complex financial transactions, what sort of practices could IRS criminal investigation adopt to better track the flow of foreign money through the complex web of entities involved and safeguard taxpayer dollars?
Thank you for that question, Mr. Chairman. You know, when you look at the situation, by the time it gets to IRS CI, criminal investigation, there's allegations of serious misconduct. I think we need to take a look, and the committee needs to look at what can the IRS do on a proactive basis up front by getting more information from the reporting from the 990 from the nonprofits, that the IRS can use that information and use artificial intelligence, I mentioned that in my opening statement, more effectively and efficiently to ferret out some of this behavior before it even gets to the CI level. Once it advances to a revenue agent who's doing the normal audit, they need the tools at that level to be able to look at the complex web of transactions, to be able to follow the money, to be able to see the transparency or unravel the transparency to see what's going on. At that point, when CI comes in, a referral is made to criminal investigation, they need the tools to do their job. They need better artificial intelligence programs. They need better computers. I've worked alongside with CI agents that have old technology. They need better training, technology. It's not that they need more manpower, but they need better tools to operate more efficiently and effectively. So I think it's a combination of starting in the front end with better reporting on the Form 990 that the nonprofits will have to disclose things like donor-advised funds. If there's a fiscal sponsorship, they have to check the box to that. At least some basic information that would flag things for the IRS, that they could look across the entire spectrum of tax-exempt entities and have a flavor of better what's going on.
Thank you. I now recognize the ranking member,